going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now,
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, sometimes life takes us away. We are busy. There's certain things that definitely take priority, which you just kind of have to deal with, and that's kind of like what's been happening to me over the last couple of weeks. But anyway, we are here back with another deck profile, a deck that I recently took to locals and I managed to get X2 with the deck. Obviously it's not the best performance and I wasn't expecting to do extremely well anyway, for it being a rogue deck, and the locals that I tend to go to tend to be quite competitive. But anyway, without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. So the deck in question is obviously Generators, which you have seen, and you can't play Generators without playing 3 of the field spell. This is basically what makes the deck work and why the deck is so glass cannony, so to speak. This card just facilitates everything that the deck needs to do. Anytime your opponent draws, special summon a Generator monster from deck in defense position, and then if it's your opponent's turn, you just spam the field with tokens. You do need to be aware of this. Obviously, you need to definitely go into your heart, which I'll talk about when I get to him, but you can get Nibiru'd on your own turn or your opponent's turn, like very easily. It was a horrible feeling, to be honest. So you definitely need to keep that in mind, because you do spam the field full of monsters. You summon 5 times in a draw phase, so Nibiru's like basically live straight away. Next up, running Laevatein, the Shadow of the Generators. This is probably one of your only normal summons of the deck, bar one other. It contributes itself to get yourself into any other Generator monster. You do need to be aware. A couple of times I've got this ashed and it just feels so bad. Like it's horrible to feel, but you need it. It's a necessary evil. It's a really good card, to be honest, and it buffs all of your tokens by 1,000 attack, as well as all of your Generator monsters. So definitely worth keeping him on field on your opponent's turn if you're fearing being like OTK'd or something like that. Next, for the new support, Triple Vala. This card's just silly. This allows you to basically unbrick your hand, and her effect to pitch for cost can work out in your favor, basically, because you can get a free special summon on that offer. She doesn't negate the effects. She does banish herself when she leaves her field to special summon herself, but if she is just special summoned, you can get her effect to special summon a Generator monster from hand or grave, non-targeting. So definitely a very powerful card. A nice inclusion in the deck, allows you to push for more damage, get some of your bigger bodies on field, and then particularly to facilitate your rank 9 plays, which is probably the heart and soul of this deck. So definitely want to go for the Triple Vala. Next, we're running Double Heart. You could arguably drop this down to 1, ladies and gents, but I've decided to go for the 2, just in case 1 gets outed. This is the main play of your boss stage. You need to see this card as quickly as possible. Puts pressure on your opponent. Omni negation, yeah, it's a big 3,000 attack and defense, so it's very big monster. So you definitely want to get him onto the field as quickly as possible. Next, we play 1 Mardell. She's so pretty. Searches your field spell, basically. I don't play any other of the Generator spells and traps in the main deck. I think I play the trap, I think it's boss fight or something like that. I play boss room and boss fight in the side deck. So yeah, definitely just the only target that you're searching off this is the field spell or your Laevatein. Next, I play 1 Vala, as well as 1 Nidhogg, as well as 1 Utgarda. Now, it is quite a high count of the level 9 monsters. You do need to be aware, bricking is a big issue in this deck. It does happen. Even with the amount of consistency that you try and include, you will just brick from time to time. And I'll explain that as I go along. But these are nice. Utgarda is a banish. Nidhogg is a summon negation, and Vela allows you to special summon 1 from grave. So yeah, nice bit of recursion. On to the next little engine that I'm playing. I'm definitely playing the Diviner package. So 3 Diviner of the Heralds, as well as 1 Trias Periarcha and 1 DD Sprite. This little package just allows you to go into your Baron de Fleur, because like I said, your field spell gets outed pretty easily. Most types of removal will just remove the field spell. It's not even a joke, ladies and gents. So just being able to have an Omni negate to allow your boss stage to resolve definitely does help. And Divine is particularly interesting in this deck because your Vala, which let me see if I can find that. There she is. Your Vala is actually a fairy, and Diviner can send her if you've got, depending on what you've got in your hand. So it allows for a little bit of flexibility in your hands. So definitely an interesting card. Probably an auto inclusion in Generators going forward. So yeah. Next on to the just generic spells, we have Triple Prosperity. Yes, you need this card, ladies and gents. It's not even a joke. You could take out your extra deck and play Extravagance. That is always an option, but just digging 6, like I said, ladies and gents, is just, it's unmatched, to be honest. And I know a lot of people have spoke about this card and it potentially getting banned, but just like the consistency that it allows decks that does not need its extra deck so much, or does not need every card in its extra deck to be able to pop off, basically. It's crazy. And this deck, you can actually just get away with OTKing without going into your extra deck because your generator monsters are just so huge. So Triple Prosperity, I think it's definitely needed in this deck. I was also running 2 World Legacy Monstrosity. Now, I did throw this deck together just before I went to locals because I was missing a few pieces. And I would have played a third, but I just literally couldn't find it. But I am running the 2 nonetheless. But I would potentially play a third just because it allows you to unbrick your hand, and it allows you to just facilitate your XYZ plays. And then for some power one-offs, just for some generic spells, I played 1 Core by the Grave. You need to stop Ash. You need to stop Ash, and you need to stop Ash. It's just horrible. But yeah, 1 Core by the Grave, as well as the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. This deck does play well against back row, depending on your hand and how you set up. But you still need some kind of back row removal, ladies and gents. And like I said, it's very rare that I actually play a game or play a deck without at least 1 main deck back row removal. And I know I always mention this, so yeah. That's it for the generator spells, main deck monsters, and just generic spells. Onto the hand traps. Now, I do play some hand traps in this deck because you do need to protect yourself. So Nibiru, some people are arguing that people are playing around this card now, and Nibiru is a weird one. When it's prevalent in the format, people play around it. When people feel like it's starting to kind of like leave the format, people start getting greedy and just overextending. I always like having Nibiru, especially the locals that I go to. There's quite a few rogue decks, and people tend to just kind of like ignore Nibiru, and he is a major threat. Typically they're trying to set up an Omni-Negate before they can start really going into the combo, but Nib just answers that, and just the threat of Nib is also a nice little option because it allows your opponent to just kind of like think about, should I be extending here? Has he got the Nib? I don't know what to do. So yeah, it makes your opponent think, basically. I do like this card, but then I hate this card at the same time because like rogue decks just get destroyed by this card, and it's not even fair. But yeah, it is what it is. Triple Ash Blossom, yep, say no more. Ash is always going to be good, especially when it's backed up by other things. People say, oh, Ash is rubbish, it's weak, it's this, it's that, but Ash is never a card to just end a turn. Like Drone and Lockbird, Nibiru, those are the types of cards that end turns. Ash is really good if it's backed up by something else. Obviously against Branded it's super strong, but against most other decks, 1 Ash isn't going to do anything. So you do need to have a couple of other hand traps or some other interaction to make it good, but I do value Ash, I do like it. Triple Infinite Impermanence, yep, say no more, it is what it is. Yeah, can't really say much more about this card, really good. Triple Evenly Matched, main deck that evenly matched, ladies and gents. There was a question of whether I could make this Book of Moon. I do play Book of Moon in the side, but I decided to main deck it, and it does help. Just going second, this deck isn't the best. You do need to wipe the board as much as you can just to be able to set yourself up, because you are typically playing a control deck, ladies and gents, so yeah. And the last card was 1 Ghostmourner and Runic Chill. I literally just threw this in to make my deck 40. There's no real reason why it's here. If I was going to play Ghostmourner and Runic Chill, I probably would just put in Effect Veilers, but it seemed to work out. I mean, it does help, especially playing against like Kashtira and that kind of stuff. It does really help, but yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, that is it for the main deck, ladies and gents. Even 40, you need to keep it at 40 just because you do not want to see, well, you want to see Pot of Prosperity realistically, or you just want to see your Diviner to be able to normal summon it. But yeah, onto the extra deck. So we are playing the double Laevatein. This card is what makes the deck tick now, and it's what makes it more of a rogue threat. Before, he was typically just going into some random rank 9s. Now you've got an actual end boss focus, and Laevatein is that focus. So we can detach materials. will attribute itself a cost, and then you can attach materials to a Generaider boss that this card summons from the extra deck to that monster, up to the number of materials it has. So you can make this with sometimes like 3 or 4 Generaider monsters and just scoop up a whole field. It's just it's crazy. Now, especially against trap decks. I think I played against like Trap Tricks once, and I just scooped up like 4 cards or 3 cards or something like that, and it was like, oh, and it doesn't target as well, which is the craziest thing. You can even attach your own monsters if you really wanted to, but yeah, it does not target. It just scoops them all up and puts them under them as material. So this card's crazy. It also debuffs your opponent's monsters by 1,000, which does come up from time to time. So very powerful card. Paired with obviously Jormungandr. Jormungandr is another interesting one. I was thinking about playing Drone and Lockbird in this deck because you can force your opponent to draw with Jormungandr, and then you can just change roll afterwards, so you can effectively just shut them down from searching if you're going first. But yeah, it's a nice little card, gives itself an attack boost. Your opponent has to attach cards to it, so if you detach a card, you both draw once, which should trigger your field spell, and then you have to attach a card from like hand or field to this card as material, and this card gains 1,000 attack for each material it attaches. So basically it gets 1,000 attack each turn that you use it to affect. So very powerful card, especially alongside Laevatein, which is just, yeah, it's just silly. Next, for some other just random rank 9 cards, Phantom Fortress, Enter Blafnir. There is a combo that I've seen where it just eliminates your whole hand, which is crazy. And Phantom Fortress, Enter Blafnir does help you to do that. Banishing non-target from hand, field, or grave is a nice little effect right there. Infinite Trap Earth Slicer, just for another big beat stick. You can kind of like just take what monster it destroys by battle. And 9 lives cap to revive a monster out of the graveyard, which can actually come up, and it prevents your cards that summoned out of the graveyard to be targeted. So if you do get this on field, you're probably in a position when you're going to win the game anyway. So yeah, if you ever get to a point that you can make a rank 9 other than your Laevatein, you're probably going to win the game, unless you got your extra deck ripped by like Diablosis or something like that. So yeah, 9 lives cap's nice. This card right here, this is another little tech. Like I said, if you do get your extra deck ripped by any kind of like means, you can go into this card. So on summon, this card dumps a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard. So alongside this, I'm playing a couple of targets, which are Wind Pegasus and obviously the Entis. So you can dump Entis to the graveyard, and you can actually activate its effects to detach a material and attach 1 card from your graveyard back to this card. So you can actually reattach the Entis that you sent for its summon, which is a bit crazy. So you can pop a couple of cards just via its effect, or when it leaves the field basically, because Entis will be an XYZ material. And then when it's sent to the graveyard, you just negate, you can target 1 card, face up card in the field, and just negate its effects, which is crazy. So very powerful card, a little bit underrated because there's not really that many rank 9 decks out there at the moment, so you don't really see, but it's a nice dogmatic punishment target, as well as it being a nice like little bit of utility. It's also a nice little ultimate slayer target, so definitely interesting card right there. Next, I put in just some generic link 2s just in case I wanted to kind of like do something, and Generaider Transversal actually came up, ladies and gents. I actually took somebody's Fenrir, which was interesting. So yeah, 1 World Gears Thermological Demiurgy. I think is that's how you say it. I think I butchered that, but unaffected by monster effects, 3,500 attack. If you make it with 3 monsters with different types and attributes, you can just nuke the whole field. So it's like a Link Black Rose Dragon, but then it's unaffected by monster effects. So it does come up sometimes. Sometimes when you're in a bit of a pinch, you can make it, but chances are, if you get to resolve to make this card, you're already in a winning position anyway. So it's a little bit hit and miss, but I just thought it was a nice little quirky tech. And this deck by no means is like anywhere near meta. It's literally a rogue deck that's just quite fun to play. And then finally we're finishing off with 1 Baron de Fleur as well as the 1 Chen Ying. You could get to either of these via the Diviner of the Herald combo, where you dump Trias Hierarchia and then special summon out the DD Sprite by tributing off the Diviner with the Trias Hierarchia engraved. So yeah, Baron is Baron. You probably will go into this if you can get to that line, basically just to protect your field spell and allow it to resolve at least for 1 turn anyway. So yeah. And that is it, ladies and gents. Generators in a nutshell. Definitely a rogue deck. Very fun to play. It's not competitive in any sense of any stretch of the imagination. It does do what it does well, and it's very, very quirky, quite powerful. But yeah, it will take a lot more to make this deck a little bit more viable. But yeah, it is what it is. But anyway, we find ourselves at the end of another video. If you did enjoy this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.